Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Becoming Roy podcast. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the one thing that saved all of humanity, the one skill that we developed. Kind of crazy, kind of blew my mind. Anyways, I'm your host, Roy, and this show exists to help people discover who it is that they were made to be. And I do that by one, sharing a little bit that I know, the little bit of inspiration that's hitting my mind. I do that by sharing my journey, and I do that by having people on the show, the pod, and having conversations with them, with people that are living an inspired life, people that are doing what it is that they feel they were made to do, and the person that they feel they were made to be. Because it's not about necessarily what you do, but it's more about who you are. Okay. Anyways, I feel like I'm getting a little bit of excitement about the podcast because the first 7 episodes, I haven't really shared very much. If you're just now tuning in, you should actually start at the beginning and see how I've progressed. One, in quality and kind of nailing down a look, but also too, I'm hoping that I'm becoming a better communicator. This is part of me sharing my journey and sharing my story, sharing about where I'm at. And as I grow and as I develop into the person that I feel like I am made to be, I'm doing that. And it's cool to look back and be like, oh, wow, like that first one kind of sucked. The audio on this one kind of sucked, like whatever. So go back to episode 1 if you want to know a little bit more about me. Now, as I've been reflecting a lot, as one does in January, I was thinking about listening to my own podcast to try and get better at communicating and get better at this. And I was like, man, I talk about sharing my journey and sharing my progress. And I think there are the things that don't need to be said, like visually this looking better than the first episode, audibly this sounding better, like those quality steps that you can kind of see. But the big thing that I'm working on, the big thing that I'm really going after right now is step 1 in my quote unquote grand scheme of things is I got to get healthy. And I talked a little bit about this in my guide to 2026 a couple episodes ago. You should go check that out. But this year, I'm really just focused on 2 things. I have 2 goals in 2026. And it's to get healthy and to document it. And so I want to share my journey on me getting healthy. Now, I could be a little bit more niche. I might make a video about this later, an episode about this later, but I'm viewing health in 6 buckets. That is in no particular order: physical, mental, spiritual, financial, vocational, and relational. Did I already say that? Whatever. Those are in spiritual. I don't know. There's 6. Okay. And those are areas that I want to get healthy in. Those are kind of helping me decide what topics to talk about on this podcast. But that is the general gist for now of my goals. But the big one that I'm really the one that I think needs to be tackled and addressed ASAP, all of them, honestly, but my physical health. Okay. I want to inspire people, and I think people that lose weight, that are disciplined, are very inspirational. And for me, it's not just losing 100 pounds. I, at my heaviest, was 330. That was like a year and a half ago. I'm 320 today. I've lost 50 pounds, then I gained 45 back, and I'm just not where I want to be. And I've just roller coastered for so long, up, down, up, down, up, down. I had a on this day 7 years ago photo pop up for me today, and it was me in January 7 years ago trying to lose weight. And so it's been a battle for a decade, it feels like. And it's time to do it for lots of reasons, okay? And so today I'm still 320. That's the big point. I'm going to do a DEXA scan, I think, just for, I guess, kind of the theatrics of it a little bit. But something that I haven't really talked about that I need to start talking about, because I think when you talk about stuff, I think it becomes real, okay? And so I'm getting healthy and I'm documenting it. And I'm actually working on a documentary just showing my weight loss. And it's funny. Some people I've told that to, they're like, you're going to make a documentary about yourself. And it does feel kind of vain, and it does feel a little conceited a little bit. But I think that's why I'm doing these podcasts, because I want people to know me, and I want to know people. It's this beautiful thing to know and to be known. And there are things about me that people don't know. I'll never forget this interaction that I had. I was probably 23, several years ago. I was working as a camp counselor. And if you got to know Camp Roy, that to this point is the best Roy. I peak. It's great. My best is yet to come, but so far that's like the best form of Roy is me at camp. If you know, you freaking know. Okay. Anyways, we were hosting this conference for high school kids, Rip Fascinate, and I was just leading some chant with my group. It was just something really small. It was like a little moment where we're waiting for the session to start and we were doing some chant. And I remember some adult looked at me and was like, man, that guy's not insecure about anything. Like that dude, like he's very confident. And he wasn't saying it like joking or sarcastically. It was just because I was starting a chant. And in my head, I was like, brother, what? I don't want to say that I'm like so insecure, but there are things that I'm very self-aware of, and my weight is one of them. And there are other deeper things that I've kind of addressed in some of these episodes that I think kind of, how do I want to say this? There are deeper things about me that have fed and played a part in me roller coastering with my weight, trying to get healthy and then not. I think the best way to summarize that idea or this phenomenon, whatever that I've experienced of up, down, is I was listening to a podcast, one of my favorite podcasts, Higher Up Wellness, and he was talking, he had a guest, it's one of his buddies, I don't remember his name, they did like a speaking engagement tour or whatever, and they were talking about, the guest was saying there's no such thing as self-doubt or self-sabotage. There's no such thing as self-sabotage. You just reinforce whatever it is you really believe about yourself. And I think that's what this documentary is about, is me addressing the things that I really believe about, I truly believe about myself, because I don't think I'm special in the things, in the ways, and the feelings that I have towards myself. I think there are a lot of people that don't believe that they deserve good. I think there are a lot of people that don't believe that they can do hard things. I think there are a lot of people that don't feel worthy of X, Y, Z, fill in the blank. That's what's really going on here. And I thank God for the awareness of that. But I'm going to work on it. I'm working on a documentary currently where I'm going to document myself losing 100 pounds or 20% body fat, whichever comes first. My goal number, quote unquote, is 220. I don't super care about losing that. I really want to focus on body fat and different things. And so my hope, my goal, my dream, my intention is that this documentary gets released in the spring of 27. I'm hoping to do this before 30. I'm 28 now. And I'm hoping to have like a premiere and just invite people to celebrate me, which feels really crazy to say, but I think there's a way to do it where it doesn't have to be about me, because what it's about is helping someone else. Again, that's why this show exists. It's why it's called The Becoming Roy, because I'm not fully living externally, outwardly, tangibly. I'm not fully the person that I am inside and that I think that I was made to be, which is healthy, which is inspirational, which is generous, which is helping. Okay. Kind of gets me fired up just a little bit. It also makes me kind of shit my pants because I don't talk about this because it seems crazy to say. It seems crazy to say. And I say crazy stuff all the time and I don't follow through with anything. My real friends now. How many times was I going to move? and whatever. But this has silently been in my heart for years. A podcast, I mean, my first episode is in 2020. I should do a rerun of that or a reacting to that. But it's 2026 now, and I drug my feet for years to start to do that one episode. So, to keep you updated, right now I'm 320 pounds, and I've got a plan, and I've kind of loosely started, but we're dialing in. And stay tuned for the documentary coming spring 2027. Okay, that was a little bit of a setup. Now, I did kind of start the episode with what I was going to talk about, and it was the one thing that humanity learned, the one skill that we obtained that saved our species, basically. And it's kind of crazy because I was listening to a podcast, A Diary of a CEO. If you don't watch it, tons of value. It's really long. I hope that I can have provoking conversations for 2 hours like they do. But he is interviewing Tony Robbins, who is, if you don't know Tony Robbins, he's the GOAT. He is awesome. And he is he's an inspiration. I'll say it like that. Okay. Tony Robbins was talking about this idea that I'm going to tell you about here in a sec. But before he talked about it, I had a conversation with my therapist 2 days before, and it was the same topic. It was the same thing. Not related at all, but completely related at the same time. And it's this idea of pattern recognition. Okay. I was in therapy the other day, and I kind of feel weird saying, I was in therapy the other day, because I don't really want that to be like, I hate when people make things their personality. And I feel like because I talk about therapy a lot, it's a little bit my personality, and I kind of hate that. Whatever, that's an aside. I'm in therapy the other day, and basic check-in. How are you doing? I hate that question. How are you doing? Okay. So I start to answer, and it's like, I answer the question, was like, I don't feel great. I kind of feel like shit, but I did go to the gym this week. It was Thursday morning. I had this conversation. It's like, I did go to the gym twice this week, and the other night that I didn't go to the gym, I did have a friend over and cooked him dinner. And I have been, on top of all my projects at work, and I have been walking, and I did grocery shop, and I did eat clean. I did make my bed, but I feel like shit. I don't feel good. I feel behind. I feel negative this, negative that, negative this. And I was like, my therapist look at me, and they say, yeah, it's January. And I was like, what? What do you mean it's January? And I'm like, what do you, like, sure, seasonal depression, sure, I have it all year and it gets worse, whatever, sure. They're like, no, it's January. And they pulled out their little freaking pad of notes, and they had receipts, and they said, Roy, you say this same thing every January. You always feel worse than you are. Just because you feel bad doesn't mean you're doing bad. Doesn't mean you are bad. And I was like, I was so upset when they told me this, because I was like, I remember you telling me this last year and the year before, and being like, oh, like, this makes sense. Like, I didn't connect the dots of this pattern recognition. Okay. And Tony Robinson in this podcast on the diary, he was a guest on the Diary of the CEO. He was talking about how one of the very first examples of pattern recognition is people with seasons. Okay. You have a springtime, everything grows in the spring. It's easy to grow. It's easy to plant. Like, that is like, everything is growing in the spring. And then you got the summer. The summer is, it gets a little hot. There's a little bit of testing, kind of figuring out for yourself. But it's like, it's still good. It's still sunny. We're great. The fall comes. That's when the harvest is ready. That's when what you planted, if you tended to, and if you survived the heat and you tended to whatever you planted throughout the summer, the fall is when you get to reap, is when you get to actually enjoy the benefits of whatever it is you've been working on, whatever it is you've sown. And then after the fall, you have the winter. And early on in society, if they did spring right and they did summer right and they did fall right, then they would be able to survive the winter because they would have food and they would have stuff ready and they wouldn't starve. And it just took guesswork out of, I mean, can you imagine like people back in the day that didn't know about seasons and they planted in the summer and they were a little bit late and then they didn't grow as much and then winter comes around and nothing is growing and then they starve? Blows my mind. Pattern recognition. So that's what saved humanity. Okay, Roy, how does this apply to us, or why did this hit me? What blew my mind next was Tony Robbins likened the seasons, the 4 seasons, to our lives. And he said, 0 to 21-ish, that's springtime. You're growing, you're developing, kind of becoming your own person. Cool. Then 21, 22-ish to, I'm making up these numbers a little bit, but it was to like 40-ish. That is summertime. That's when you kind of get tested. That's when you kind of get to figure out, the things that you're figuring out. And, it's just kind of figuring out, kind of refining, okay? That I think is really important. But then comes the fall time, the harvest time. And he said that is really like 45 to 60 years old. Like, I'm currently in the summer, still figuring things out, okay? And I felt so behind in life because I'm 28 and my best friends are finished with college or almost done with college or have a house or have multiple children or, have a nice car or like whatever it is that they have. And I'm 28 and my car has 330,000 miles and I am unable to speak to women. Half joking. I don't have a girlfriend, don't have kids, don't have a house. And it's like, I feel so behind. But when Tony Robbins said that, I was like, oh, like, I'm not going to reap the benefits of my work until I'm 45. Like, dude, I'm not behind. I'm not ideally where I want to be. Ideally 21, 22 is when you really start, it's like when the initial planting begins, when those initial things start. And I wish that I could be more ahead, but I'm not. And so this is where I'm at. And that idea of what I do from now to 45, what I do from now for the next 20 years is going to set me up for the second half of my life. That just like gave me such a just relief came over me. Not this like, oh, I have time, I don't have to do stuff now, but it's like I didn't miss it. And I have felt behind for years. And so I know damn well that some of you are 18 years old and you feel fucking behind. And I want to tell you, you have time. Okay? We have to zoom out. I've talked about this before, but we often just get so pigeonholed into this micro measurement where we track growth from 1 week to the next, that we forget to look at 10 years ago. Right now, the 2016 trend is going on, or everyone's sharing their pictures and where they are at in 2016. 10 years ago is when I had my first paid gig for photography and videography. Okay? Now, it's my full-time job. That's a crazy development when you look at that from 10 years. 10 years ago, I mean, just it's night and day. The difference and the things that I've learned over a decade, the things about faith and religion and God that I know, the things that I've learned in dealing with people and relationships and leadership, the things that I've learned even in just communication. So if I can, I'm like if you can look at, things in decades and be like, okay, I'm going to work my ass off till I'm 45, then I'll get to enjoy the fruit of my labor from 45 to 60, well, whatever that part of your life is. And then in winter, I'll have enough stored up from what I've sown, from what I've worked on to carry me through the winter, the end of your life. So I'm feeling encouraged in that because my first episode of this podcast was 6 years ago, and I've only, this is, just episode 8 or whatever it is. But I'm not behind. It's not too late. No, don't take that as you don't need to do stuff now. But it's like we have to work now. You're not behind. I'm a little upset about my last podcast episode because I left out some fire quotes that I actually do hang on to quite a bit. Okay. And one of my favorites is a Chinese proverb where it says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. But the second best time to plant a tree is today. Start today. And so I'm just feeling really excited about this. I want to encourage all of you guys to be conscious of the content that you're consuming, because you could just brain rot and scroll. But what I'm learning is as I put on a podcast, as I'm putting on books, as I'm putting on just interviews with people that I find inspirational or that I want to learn something from, I'm just like feeling bolstered and encouraged to do things. And it's not even that I want to do things, because you know what? I didn't really want to film this episode. I actually didn't really want to, I haven't really wanted to film any episode that I've sat down to do because it feels cringe, because maybe I'm not a good communicator, because who's even going to watch? If you're watching this, shout out to you. I think there's like 4 of you that watch. I'm one of them. And so it just feels weird. It's like, why am I going to do this? But like, this is what I want. And this is who I'm made to be. I'm made to be an inspiration. And my friend and mentor from afar, Michael Smoke, says he referenced his dad, a text he got from his dad. And I was like, if what you do today can encourage one person or help one person, you got to keep going. I definitely butchered and botched that quote, but that's the principle. And so my hope is that one of you, just one, finds some sort of encouragement in this. And it might just be you, Roy, listening to your own damn podcast. Keep pushing forward. Keep going. Future you is depending on it. And so that's kind of all I got, I think for this. I want to try and stay concise. I know I talked about a few different things, but my hope is that I can get better at this. My hope is to know and to be known. Some of the podcasts I'm listening to is like really people just talking about whatever. I've been enjoying Leo Skepi's podcast, and he's just talking about shit about his life. And he has some really profound things, but like the way he talks is just very like bro to bro. And so I hope this can become that. I'm hoping that people are finding value. I do, at least right now, January 2026, I'm open to all feedback. I want to know things that are good, things that can be better. Mom, I was paying attention to how many times I yawned in this episode. I think I did okay. But the intention here, I hope is what is seen more than wanting fame or wanting whatever it is. I want to communicate well and be inspirational. So that's all I got for today. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Becoming Roy podcast. If you're new here, again, start at the beginning, give it a listen, and control what you can control. And I will see you on the next one.